Yo, welcome to Painted Plastic People, and today's our deep dive on how to wash and shade your miniature. Heyo, welcome to Painted Plastic People. My name is Charles, and I help aspiring and beginner miniature painters learn to save time and money by teaching them to paint fast and effective. And in today's video, I'm teaching you how to wash and shade your miniatures, so let's do it to it. So there's two different ways that you can wash or shade a miniature. You can take your wash, your shade, and you just glue it onto your miniature. This is the way most everybody does wash or shade their miniatures. The second way being you can recess shade, which means you take the wash and put it directly into the specific areas you want, and you try not to get it on every bit of the miniature. That way is a little more precise. You need a little more brush control. You need to be a bit more patient. I would suggest maybe trying that once you've become comfortable with miniature painting a little more, but just as a beginner, I would say focus on the first method. So what do? Well, they give your miniature definition. The big thing is these paints are very thin down, so when you apply them, they're going to run into the crevices, the creaks, the folds of your miniature, and that's where they're going to settle. And once they dry, which it takes about a half hour or so, then they're going to really give your miniature a nice pop and definition. So that way when you go to do your highlights, this will actually help you a lot because you'll see where all your highlights should go. They do come in a variety of colors, the most common being black and brown, and different degrees of intensity of that. Certain companies like Citadel call it a shade, like Agrax Earth Shade is their brown, and Nuln Oil is their black. Or you look at Army Painter, where theirs called strong tone for the brown and dark tone for the black. Other companies call them different things. Vallejo just calls their colored washes what they are, or sepia wash, I believe, is what they use for the brown. Anyway, you can get a variety of colors from black, brown, red, green, blue. Just any color you can think of, there is a wash equivalent of it. When you're actually applying your wash, you're going to have to watch out for pooling. So what that is when you apply your wash and it starts to put it in the places that are kind of unnatural. So for instance, it should go into the recesses and into the cracks and shadowed areas of your miniature, but sometimes it'll pool on like a flat surface. You don't want that to happen. So what you can do is you can just push it around with your brush and just get it to where you want it to go. If it's not doing that though, you can take a brush that is dry and you can just soak up the excess and then maybe even redistribute it somewhere else. So this tip is for you to watch out for inks. Now if you just bought like a starter set, like just a little packet and it comes with a wash or shade in it, you don't have to worry about this, but just when you go to buy a new pot of wash or shade, watch out you're not buying an ink. Inks are just like washes and shades, but they're extremely strong. They're a little more closer to what a paint would be. So just watch out for that. It's just a little buyer beware. So this tip for you is to paint in the same direction. What I mean is if you're putting your wash on, when you go to like start moving it around, when you do start moving it, I want you to move in the same direction. So for instance, if you're pushing your wash down, then I want you to always push your wash down. Or if you're pushing it up, just make sure you stay on the same stroke. I don't want you to push it like side to side from there, because then what will happen is when it dries, you'll have a bit of a streak going on and it won't look natural. And also I want you to, while you're doing this, to push it into the shadows. So for instance, if you're looking at my guns here, you would take your paint and you would push it into the shadow area, like you see the crack there. If my arm was a miniature, of course, and you would push it into that because you want to create more intense shadows there. Because if you just push it the other way, like onto the arm, onto the flat bit, you're gonna get pooling and it won't look natural because, of course, shade and shadow wouldn't go there. Tips about colors. You can use any sort of color you want, like reds and greens and blues and whatever. But right now, when you're just starting out and until you get more comfortable with painting miniatures, I want you to focus on brown and black. Brown is very good. It doesn't quite darken things down like black does. So you can use it on brighter colors to lose less of the brightness from them. And it also creates kind of creates natural shadows with it. You don't have to worry so much, because sometimes like a brighter color, the shadows aren't quite so dark. So that's one way to go. With the black, of course, it's going to darken everything right down. So it's really good for like dark shadows if that's something you want to go for. Generally, I stick to just using black on all of my miniatures, but brown is also a good option for those brighter colors. So a thing to be aware of is washes and shades that have different finishes to them. So for instance, Citadel has washes and shades that are very glossy, and in fact I've actually used them before and I didn't actually much care for them, because I thought, oh well, when I put my sealant on, I'll put a matte sealant onto it and that'll bring it back down, and it didn't. It was actually much stronger than that. So just something to be aware of. If you're not going for like a glossy sort of look to your miniatures, you may want to avoid that. On the other end of the spectrum, Army Painter, they make some really good washes and shades that are actually matte finished. So those are ones I would go for myself. I always prefer a matte finish onto my miniatures. Hey, just want to pop in real quick to say that if you're enjoying this video and you're getting any sort of help from it, if you could leave a like down below, it really helps out the channel. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. So moving right along, let's talk about mixing washes. You can mix sort of the darker washes like brown and black into your colored washes to bring down the brightness of them. And this can give you some more gritty looking washes to kind of like really give some lived in texture to your miniatures. You can also mix your colored washes together to get washes that you maybe don't have access to it right now. You can mix a couple together to get a purple, to get a yellow, to get a whatever, right? Whatever your effect you're going for. You can always do that. And just like I said before, don't be afraid to experiment. You might have a happy accident. So this next one's about colored washes specifically. So I'm talking about using red, greens, blues, purples, all that kind of stuff. What you want to do here is generally you'll put the same color wash onto your miniature that the color of like the part you're washing is. So for instance, if you had a red cape, you'll put a red wash onto that to give it sort of red shadows. There's nothing wrong with putting a black wash on these, of course. That's generally the standard. But if you want a little more of a more red look to your miniature, to that cape in this example, then you can use a red wash. Another way to go about this is to mix and match. So for instance, you could have like a purple cloak and put a red wash on that, and then have like purple upraised areas and red shadows. And then you could also flip that, going the other way. You could have a red cloak with purple shadows. You can also mix and match and use like maybe a red wash with like blue shadows. I don't know how that would look, to be honest. Maybe somebody out there will try. If you did, leave a comment below. I'd like to see it. But you can give those kind of experimentations, because like I said in my base coating video, you should experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment, because you can always just clean it up later and just have fun with it. You know, sometimes you have happy accidents. This tip is all about putting your wash and shade on metallics. So for instance, if you have like silver plate armor, gold ornaments, things like that, what the best thing to do here is, if you're looking for like a sort of clean look to your like silver, you can use like a black wash onto that. And this will kind of give you a sort of cleaner, nicer look. If you're looking for more of a gritty look, you can put brown wash on there. But with your bronzes and golds, you should always put brown wash onto them. It just looks more natural. You can, of course, put black wash. I'm just a pre-recorded message. I can't really make you do anything. But like I said, feel free to experiment. It's just, these are kind of general guidelines. So just as a brief reminder, this is part 4 of a 6-part series in which we're going through how to paint a miniature step by step. Next week we're going to be hitting up how to do highlights, and from there we're going to be going on into our last step, which is going to be basing and sealing your miniature. So if you like this video, a click on the like button would be phenomenal. If you really liked it, subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you don't miss any more of my videos would be also really appreciated. If you really, really liked it, you can share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies. You might make a new friend that way. And remember to get it to the table and have a good day.